Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll be talking about how to layer your kicks and snares, specifically for the future bass genre. Today we'll be looking at how to layer your drop kick, how to layer your drop snare, and a bit of a verse kick. Before we get into the preview, I want to do a big shout out to Nurko, or Jack. He's actually the one who taught me this, so all credit goes to him, and as you probably already know if you see my other videos. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out the preview. All right, so first off, we have the layered drop kick and snare. All right, and then we have a verse kick here. Yeah, so nothing too crazy on the verse kick. It's more of like a chill kind of kick. Generally for Nurko, at least from what he taught me, was that usually his kicks during the verses are more chill. But I also think you can probably use a drop kick in the verse, for example, as well. I would think. I don't think there's anything wrong per se with that. It's kind of depending on the vibe that you're looking for. Like I think Alinium, for example, like his kicks, at least in his previous like tracks or older tracks, when he was like doing like the bigger drops, like the kicks are always usually pretty thick. So I think you can probably go either way. But in this case, this first kick was a bit more chill, and I think it just really depends on what you want. But yeah, let's go ahead and look into the snares and kicks first for the drop. So basically for, I guess we'll go for the snare first. Here is what it sounds like again. So generally for snare, you want like some type of attack on the top. So this is the first layer here. So really like high-end attack kind of thing. And in this particular sample here, I particularly only wanted the attack, so that's why I kind of cut it off here, because you have some other body stuff, or let me see. Yeah, so you have some other like, kind of like body or tail kind of sound that you don't want. So mainly I just chose this sample in particular because of the attack sound. And then the next layer that you want is like a body. And this is kind of like what the full sample sounds like. And because you already have the attack, that's why you kind of like take out some of the initial, because the attack is already from the top. This one here rather. And generally, like when you mix them together, usually it just should sound like one full sound. So already, like if we're just playing these two, it's already like one full sound. So that's basically the idea of like layering things. And then this one is optional, but basically having a tail that sounds like this. And same idea here, just kind of like taking out the initial hits basically. And the reason why I chose this snare was since we already had like an attack and body, I like the tail of it, so that's why I took all that out and just kind of used the tail. And then this is also another tail. Generally, you can just get away with one tail, but it just so happened that both of them worked really well together. So that was that. That was actually on again a call with Nurko, and originally I chose just this tail, and then he gave me a recommendation to try also at trying this tail out. So yeah. And then when we kind of combined both of them together, it just worked really well. So, and generally with these tails, it also should have some type of like tone to it. So it's like a tail and a tone at the same time. So both of them kind of have like a tone to it. Like this one, it's playing a note, and that if you definitely like listen to it, and then also this one's also playing a note as well. This layer is actually going to be optional as well. If you heard of Alinium's track Leaving, I think his drop snare doesn't have a tail at all, and rather it's just these two up here, and you could definitely just get away with that too. So the tail again is optional. And then this layer is also optional, but it's basically kind of like a pre-clap. So basically you're just taking, like, this is a Kashmir pre-clap sample, and basically you're just taking the initial hit before the clap, and then just where it hits, just take out everything after that, and then basically again, yeah, just using that. So gives a nice like kind of, you know, sweep into the snare. Sometimes it's nice to use this here and there in particular snares and stuff like that. You don't always have to like put it on every snare, and you also can put it on every snare if you wanted to. And again, this one's completely optional, as you can just kind of like make the snare just like this just fine too. One thing that I forgot to mention, or on the first one, is that I guess we're gonna go into processing anyway, but in the first one, on the attack one, it's nice to have like a transient shaper to kind of like boost it. I don't have any transient shapers just yet, but like Neutron 3 transient shaper, I think like in the Slate digital all access pass, which I probably have, has a transient shaper, but yeah, that basically just kind of helps with boosting the highs and stuff like that. But that's probably most likely optional as well. You probably don't need it, as my snare sounds more or less, it's still a solid snare, but would be a nice little bonus to it basically. But yeah, going into like the snare processing for each of them. So basically, for the most part, all of them you're cutting out all the lows below 100 basically. So yeah, for the first attack snare, you're cutting out everything below 100. This frequency shifter is optional as well. It's just kind of like changing the tone a little bit if you want to make it sound a little different than the original sample. So that's with the frequency shifter. So very, very subtle, but that's just something that you can play with. And then again, you can add a transient shaper for more of an attack. And that's pretty much the first snare. The second one, you're again cutting out everything below 100, but you're also boosting a little bit for the body area basically, just to kind of give it a bit more of a body. So this is without the EQ, and then with very subtle, but it kind of helps again adding to the body. And then for the tail, this one in particular, the frequency shifter usually probably is a good idea, because generally with the tonal snares you want it to match the key of your track. Because like if you have a tonal snare that's like completely off key, it's gonna, you know, sound off key. So definitely when you're doing this tonal snare, you definitely want it to match the key of the track, just so yeah, it can be in key. So basically with these two, we just match the same tone with each other, since there's no track here. I don't know what note this is, but both these tonal snares are basically matching each other in terms of like the key. And then there's a reverb here. For some reason, the Valhalla Room long chamber preset or like just works really well with these like tonal snares. This sort of sounds like without, and then with. So yeah, it gives it a nice, really nice tail. Again, frequency shifter is just for a certain tone or key. And then same idea with the EQ, we're cutting out everything below 100 and then boosting it again for more of like a, you know, particular body. And just without it. Yeah, so again, just boosting a little bit. And yeah, same thing with the this tonal snare too. Same idea. Basically frequency shifter to fit the right key, and then same idea with the EQ. And then on the whole entire group is basically, you know, something very similar. Basically, we're cutting out everything again, roughly, you know, 100 more or less, and then some saturation just to kind of like make things a bit warmer and kind of like combine everything together. Same thing with the glue compressor. Very, you know, very minimal. You know, we're only basically doing about 2 dBs and making up back 2 dBs. So yeah, so this is basically without the processing on it, and then with. So yeah, just kind of like, you know, combines everything together basically. And also hitting this on soft, which I believe, if I'm, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think hitting the soft will definitely kind of make it a bit more warmer, if I think if I remember correctly. Again, I could be wrong, but yeah, I definitely want to double check on that. But yeah, that's, I think, pretty much for the snare for the most part. I mean, the only thing that I would say also is like doing the volume too, so they can all kind of like be one cohesive sound. So this one's just like minus 3.5 dBs. This one's like minus 1, just so they can all, again, like, you know, be mixed well together. And then additionally, there's some cases where, you know, you might find a snare like this one, for example. It has like both qualities of a body and a tone. So right there, you basically hear that it has a nice body and also kind of like a tone to it and tail. Right there, that's definitely like a tone tail kind of thing. And then basically with the kind of things that we talked about before, you know, you would take out the attack a little bit since you have the attack up here. And then you probably don't need all of it, just to a certain extent, because if you had it like all of these, you know, so better to kind of cut some of it off. And then same idea with the EQ, and then same idea with the reverb, just a little less this time, because if you kind of overdo with the reverb, it might wash out the body a little bit, you know, so kind of want to be careful with that. And same setting as well, but together it sounds like this, so that technically could work too. All right, next up we'll look into the kick. That's what it sounds like again. Kind of like a similar idea. Basically you have a top layer, which is like your attack, and then you have your body. And this one is basically a catcher and chest kick, and then basically this is kind of like a house kick, which has the attack on it. And here we have an EQ kind of like cutting out everything because we don't need the body. Otherwise, if you stack this, it's just, yeah. Because generally with the kicks, you want to do one body, and if you're going to stack two other kicks, generally you want to probably use like the top end or something else part of the kick. That's a good rule of thumb, I would say. But yeah, for the top kick, basically just cutting out everything almost a little over 100. With the verse kick, generally you want to cut the attack a bit more. But you know, in this case, since it's more of like a drop kick, we're only cutting out to around this area, a little over 100. As you can see, like that's all like the top stuff there. And then, you know, if you were to look at the chest kick, you can kind of see here like there's more body and like not too much high end. So that's kind of how you kind of get like the full sounding kick. And same idea as a snare, like both sounds could kind of like, you know, mix well together. So it should be all like cohesive, one full sound. And sometimes you can like boost it if you need to, if you wanted to. But in this case, we didn't really need to because, you know, this kick already has a pretty high end and stuff like that. Processing for the kick, this is what it sounds like without and then with. So pretty much pretty standard stuff again, you know, saturator to make it a bit more warm. We have a supercharger with some more saturation, a bit of character, making it more fat. Not doing it the whole entire way, kind of mixing it in like almost a little bit more than half. And then we also have some compression here, and then also kind of like mess with the attack and release a little bit. I don't think we did I don't think the release was messed with, but yeah, just the attack and just some very subtle compression. And then we have a glue compressor, same idea, just kind of like gluing it all together. And then I think what really helps the sound is the EQ here that we have. So it's without the EQ, kind of like brings out everything. In this one in particular, I didn't choose the preset, but a nice preset you could go to is the drums, and try bass drums 1, bass drums 2, bass drum 3, and kind of see what you like. But basically, you know, generally for the lows, at the bass drums 1 setting, I think it was a little lower, like I think it was at 40 or 50, I forgot. So in this case, at least for what Nurko showed me, he liked it at 100, and we kind of just like boosted it up a little bit for the lows there. Didn't really do anything here because it already had enough of a body. Then just a little bit on the high mid frequencies, as well as just a little bit of a boost on the highs here as well. If you don't have this plugin, it's from Waze. Like you can also use some other EQs. Just this one in particular just had like a nice tone to it, so that's why I decided to get this plugin as well. But yeah, again, without the processing, it sounds like this, and then with all the processing. And then visually, if you want to kind of like want to see, you know, what the processing is doing, you can simply just slap on an EQ. So this is without, this is with the processing, and then without. So yeah, essentially, you can kind of see like we're just like boosting everything a little bit. You see? So yeah. All right, and the next step, we basically have a K clip or limiter on the whole group of the kick and the snare. This is basically just to kind of like help with the mastering phase, basically, because generally, you know, when it comes down to like kicks and snares, especially like when it's, you know, being all shoved in the limiter and stuff like that, and I think it's due to the transients that they have, it could cause distortion. So basically this phase is to kind of like help everything be a bit more cohesive and stuff like that, because when you have the K clip on now, it basically gives you headroom later for the mastering, basically. So that's essentially what we're doing this for. So yeah, you basically want to put the input or the in basically till like when it clips here. You don't want it to clip too much, like maybe around the 2 dB range ish. Definitely don't want to go like 4 or anything like that. And then basically doing the same thing with the out, minusing 3, doing the same as the in, so 3.6 dBs in my case. And then this basically just has a certain character to it, so I just chose a tube and about 25%. So it's not really gonna make too much of a difference here, you know. It sounds almost the same, but again, it's basically just to kind of like help with that mastering phase and make everything more cohesive and stuff like that. So, and then lastly, we just have a verse kick here. You know, very similar, like I mentioned earlier. It's more just about like, you know, this one's more of like a chill kick. You can probably use a drop kick. You even do like a phony cue for the first verse and probably open it up if you wanted to. But very similar idea as the drop kick, except again for the top kick, this is a Kashmir top kick. We're cutting out a bit more, a little bit less than 1,000. And then for the kick here, you know, we're basically just doing the body here. There's also actually a bit of a drum bus here just to kind of like add some transient. I mean, honestly, you can even just do it like this too and it'll probably work. But yeah, mainly, you know, you're just, it's again, one body and then one top kick. And then basically the processing, this is actually a whole processing for like the whole entire like percussion loops actually, which we can probably do in another video, like, you know, with your hi-hats and stuff like that. But basically we just have some saturation, making it warmer. We have the mid-side EQ, select that side, taking out everything you know, below 100. Glue compressor again, just to kind of like put everything together without the processing, and then with. But yeah, I think will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. You know, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And also hit the bell notification symbol so you know when my next video goes live. Definitely will have more videos like this, more production tips and stuff like that. And then also follow me on my social media. I post shorter like video form production tips on there. So definitely, if you like videos here, you'll definitely like my social media videos as well. And then also join my Discord. I'm looking to kind of create a community of like producers and artists where we can all kind of like help each other grow, give each other feedback, you know, share our own personal journeys and stuff like that, and struggles, and just really help each other grow and stuff like that. So if you find that's something that you're interested in joining, definitely join that as well. Again, as always, I will leave the link in the description below. Thank you so much again for watching. Until next time, much love. Peace out.